Hi, today I'm going to give you a lesson on drop D tuning. Drop D tuning is a way of tuning up your guitar, which is exactly the same as your standard E tuning, except that your lowest string, the string that's usually E when you don't fret anything, is going to be D now. There's some benefits and some inconveniences about drop D tuning. Among the benefits, we find an extended range, meaning that we get two extra low notes. We get E flat and D. We also get the fact that playing fast lines, when we are playing playing fast lines with power chords becomes really easy, faster, and we can do it without moving our hand so much. Let me give you an example. This is what we usually the shape that we usually get when we try to play a power chord. With drop D, we'll play like this. What does that mean? It means that if we want to play a line like this, play it in a lower string, because this guitar actually have tune already to drop D. We only have to do something like this. So that makes it easy for us to play that kind of lines. First, let's just clarify something. What is a power chord? A power chord, it's not really a chord in the traditional sense, because we only have two notes, the root and the fifth, and we are missing the third, which is the minimum requirement for a chord to be called a chord: root, third, and fifth. The third defines whether the chord is going to be happy or sad, major or minor. So that's the note that we are leaving away. When playing with distortion and in the rock genre, we like to hear this type of sound. It sounds really neat, really powerful, and that's where it's coming from. If we introduce a third there, it doesn't sound bad, but it just doesn't sound as much clear. Now let's keep going with the drop D. What else can we do with drop D? Well, first of all, let's analyze for a second what is this thing of the third and the root and all that. The root is the note that names your chord or your power chord. So if we are here, this is C, and we want to play a root and a fifth, we go like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is the root, this is the fifth. They all together play a power chord. When we are using drop D, what happens is we have both within the same fret. So we can fret them with only one finger. That's the reason why it comes by so handy. That's the traditional way of using drop D. That's what most guitar players use it. Some people call it the laziest guitar player chord because of obvious reasons. But I recently discovered that there's a few things that you can do with it that makes it very interesting. The first thing that I will probably name is you can play those chords just like you can play like this. But you can also do something that's very cool, which is an extended power chord. An extended power chord is nothing but a power chord that utilizes more than 2 or 3 strings. When we're playing with our traditional power chord shape, we get something like this, root and fifth, and we can add another octave, right? So that it sounds a little more fuller, bigger, right? How do we do that? Can we do that with our drop D tuning system? Of course. can still play like that. But now where I was going with this is we can get extended chords in our drop D tuning, utilizing almost all the strings in your guitar, which is something you cannot do with the traditional way of tuning. So here's how I do it. We have our root, our fifth, our root again, which we already played a second ago, and now how can we add more meat to this chord? Well, here's something else we got. This is still your fifth. Still, everything is fifths and roots, but it sounds so much fuller. Of course, we cannot move it around the way we did with a single chord finger, right? But it really sounds so much bigger that it's worth playing. What else we can do? Well, we can also use our pinky to play another octave. Root, fifth, octave, fifth again, and another octave. So listen to me. Now that's great, but you may be thinking, well, what happens with the chords when you want to throw a third in, right? Because so far, in our bar chords within E tuning system, were really easy, right? You play like this. This is a major chord. If you lift this finger, you get a minor chord. How do we play that with drop D? Well, it's really easy too. This shape we achieved so far, we still have a remaining string, the first string. Now there's a very cool thing about this string. On this particular tuning we've got there our major third, our minor third, our major second, and our perfect fourth. Let me try to dissect this for you. What this means is, if we use our middle finger over here, we get a major third. So this is a major chord, and that's all it is. But it's got a great advantage, well, I wouldn't say an advantage, but a peculiarity over this traditional chord, which is that your third is at the top voice, so it's really, really clear to distinguish it. That's our major third. So if the song you're playing's got, let's say, well, F major, right? This is how you play your F major in this particular fret. Now, what else can we do with this? Well, let's say that it's not F major, but this is F minor. F minor. This is your minor third, this is F minor. F major would be like this. Just like that. You slide this finger over here and you get your major chord. That sounds like a major third, not the previous one. So we have these two guys over here that we can utilize to play a minor chord or a major chord. And let's see what they sound like. So that's for the thirds, but we can still add a little more juice to it. Take a look at this. Minor third, major third, and what if we lift this finger and we just let our index take care of the first string. What is that note? That is a major second or ninth. Technically speaking, is a ninth because it's not in the same octave as the root. So that's a major ninth. And what's given that? What is it that's providing? It sounds kind of mysterious to me. I don't know what it sounds like to you, but I think it sounds kind of mysterious. And we can do one more thing. A perfect fourth. Here, what I'm doing now is I'm fretting it with my pinky. So my pinky is hitting the second string and also the first one. And of course we can combine them. Let's say that our songs got a chord that's major. I guess this would be a lesson for a different day. What is it that we can do with major and minor chords? But just slightly scratching the surface, we can get that if we get a major chord, we can use a major third, a major second, fourth. So if the song you are to play is got a F major that lasts for a little while, you can do something like that. So you can use all of them except for the minor third, because that will clash with the major third of the backing chord that you're playing on top of. Same thing if it's a minor chord, and that's the magic of this configuration, that you can still use 3 notes for the major version and for the minor version. So if you have the minor version, let's say that you're playing, let's say E minor, right? We get our minor shape. We can do the same thing. We can use a minor, it's not my day, E minor. We can use a minor third, we can use a major second, and we can still use the perfect fourth. And it sounds like this. In a minor chord, the only one of those 4 notes that we just saw that we cannot touch is the major third. So if your chord is major, you can use any note except for the minor third and vice versa. Let me play a combination of those 2. So that's what you can do with it. Now, there's a couple of things you can no longer do. First one is you cannot use all of your all-time known open chords. Like, you can use some of them, the ones that don't involve, obviously, the 6th string. So you can still use your C. You can still use your D's, your A, and you can no longer use your E minor or E major chord unless you don't use this string. That's a little bit of a trick. If you want to use your E minor and you mute this string, it still causes the effect, especially if you're playing with a bass player who's hitting that low E. But, for instance, your G major, that's pretty much gone. Unless, of course, and this is another trick, you cannot play it the way you used to, because this note is no longer this note, it's this one. So what happens here is, if you want to play your G, what I do when I'm switching tuning systems is I go like this. Sounds almost the same. The trick that I'm using is I'm not pressing this one down, I'm just muting it. So I'm playing this. Sounds like G, feels like G, but we are just missing the bottom end. which again, if you're playing with a bass player or with a piano player, they're probably going to be taking care of that note in particular. So that's one thing you can no longer do. The other thing is obviously playing this type of chords. Unless you do what I'm doing now, which is not pressing this string. And again, it sounds really close. Like it's not even easy to differentiate. Let's recall the fact that this note is right now is D. It's no longer E. So anything that I play here, if I play this shape and I press this note, it would be the equivalent of, in a regular guitar tune, the regular way, being pressing this fret over here, just 2 frets down, because the whole thing is moved around. But again, if you just don't press that last string, you can almost get away with anything. The other downside that you may run into is, if you play scales and runs, the lower register is going to be changed as well. It's not really a big deal to me. I can deal with that just fine. But some people really messes their wall. So you have 2 options. You can relearn the scale so that it fits the new tuning, or you can do what I do, which is, if I know my scale goes like this, and then it should go like that, right? The pentatonic scale, the boxy shape wheel, right? I just swap 2 frets out. So I play this scale like this now. And that's all I do. And it works just fine. Now, again, this way of tuning your guitars may be better for some things, maybe not so good for other things. But in the overall, there's a couple voicings that you can get that you cannot get with your standard tuning. And the power chords we discussed before sound really, really full. And again, you just can't do that if you tune in E. So that's an idea. I hope it will help you with your music and will bring some inspiration to your music creation process. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or leave any comments. I hope you liked the video, and that was it for today. Thank you.